Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum viewers. I'm your host Hali, presenting another edition of Defense and Diplomacy. The 13th summit of the OIC, the Organization of Islamic Countries, is currently underway in Turkey. There are a number of challenges to the Islamic Ummah, and whether the OIC will be able to discuss and, more importantly, find a solution to these is what we are going to discuss in our show today, for which we have invited Ambassador Shafqat Kakakhel, who, among other capitals of the world, has also served at the OIC for 2.5 years. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you.
We have with us an Arab journalist of high repute from Al Jazeera, Mr. Abdur Rehman. Matar, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Let's start with you, sir. The title or the slogan for the 13th summit is Unity for Solidarity and Peace. What are your thoughts on this slogan and, of course, the overall view?
The 13th summit, which is coming to an end today, is being held against the backdrop of enormous challenges, unprecedented challenges facing the Islamic Ummah, which comprises 57 countries and has a population of 1.7 billion. The challenges range from political challenges within the Islamic countries, the problems between Islamic countries, the problems between Islamic countries and non-Islamic countries, as well as a growing agenda of economic, social, and cultural issues. I don't think the Islamic Ummah has ever faced such a multitude of challenges, and I'm not sure if this meeting, which is being attended by more than 30 heads of state and government, will be able to make a big headway. But it's always a good idea for leaders to meet, to exchange views, and these conferences also provide opportunities for bilateral discussions, for discussions among more than two heads of state, and there is always some positive outcome of these meetings. So let's hope that the summit will constitute a positive beginning in the way of resolving some of those challenges.
Ambassador, it is important to be sanguine, so let us keep our hopes up. Let me talk to our friend Abdur Rehman Matar. Amongst the challenges, there is a festering sore, a very prolonged problem, the problem of, or I should not call it problem, the issue of Palestine. And I think it's a topic very close to your own heart too. We have had a number of shows on this earlier. So what are your thoughts, Palestine and OIC?
I think it is very difficult, rather it is very painful to talk about the Muslim Ummah, the Muslim nation in the current situation. We have an open wound in Iraq, in Syria, in Yemen, in Libya, and of course we have the issue of Palestine, and we have the issue of Kashmir as well. I think there is, as His Excellency just mentioned, yes, the Muslim Ummah is facing a huge number and very tough and difficult type of challenges, but still, I think we should never ever lose the hope. I think the leaders should be able in this current meeting, in this current summit, not only to discuss, I think and I hope that they will be able really to find some kind of solutions. You know, we have, as you just mentioned in your questions, we have prolonged issues. We have Kashmir, we have Palestine, and we have a very ultimate and very current and very important type of clashes happening in at least 4 or 5 Muslim countries, and they are main Muslim countries. They are big, they are historic Muslim countries. They have a lot of weight in OIC. I really think that the leaders of the Muslim Ummah needs to find solutions. Discussion, knowing what's happening, keep on talking, keep on discussing will not solve the issue. Most of the Muslim Ummah leaders, they know very well what's happening. They know very well from where the Muslim Ummah has been attacked, whether it is from other Muslim countries or from abroad. Let me just draw your attention to a very recent visit by a French defense minister to Kurdistan. What's the relation between the French defense minister and Kurdistan? Why not any of the Muslim Ummah defense ministers are visiting these countries or these regions or these places where there is problems and where there is actions, where there is wars? I don't know why our leaders, why our governments are away of what's happening on ground. They keep themselves in conferences halls and in meetings halls. I think they need really to face what's happening on ground and find the solutions.
True. So, Your Excellency, having served at the OIC for a fairly long time, do you think the OIC is in a position to help resolve, let's say, the Palestine issue?
Well, on the question of Palestine, I'd like to provide some information on the latest situation, and that is while Israel, of course, is consolidating its illegal occupation of Palestinian territories and the settlements policy is going unabatedly, the Palestine ambassador in the United Nations has talked about the possibility of the Arab countries pushing for a new resolution by the UN Security Council, calling upon Israel to desist from its settlement policy. And there are reports that unlike 2001, 2009, when the Obama administration vetoed a similar resolution condemning Israeli settlements, the Americans may not be averse to the idea of a new resolution, so that it breaks the stalemate which has characterized the situation in regard to Palestine question. Mahmoud Abbas will be in New York on the 18th of April, and he's expected to push for that resolution. I don't know who is representing Palestine at the Istanbul summit, but I imagine that the minimum Palestine would ask for would be an endorsement. In fact, the documents that I have seen mention that the summit in Istanbul will call for an international conference on Palestine based on the two-state solution and all. So that's about Palestine, which, as you know, it was the arson attempted by the Jews in 1969, which had triggered the moves for the setting up of the Islamic Conference. The first Islamic Conference was in Rabat, and that is where the OIC was created. As far as your question about the ability of OIC to resolve these issues, I must say that organizations essentially reflect the political realities of the member states. But there are questions, of course, such as the Palestine question, the Kashmir issue, the Cyprus question, the Armenian aggression against Azerbaijan in that enclave, which is populated by Armenian people, but it's in the territorial limits of Azerbaijan, as well as the question of Islamophobia, the question of attempts by rightist politicians to paint Islam as a religion of terrorism. On these broad issues, there is no disagreement. So we hope that there will be a headway on at least those issues.
I certainly hope so. I'm actually obliged to take a break. When I come back from the break, I'll be picking up the thread, Abdur Rehman Matar, with you to continue on Palestine. Viewers, we're taking a very short break. Stay tuned. We'll just be back. Welcome back, viewers. We are discussing the challenges to the Islamic Ummah and the role of the OIC. So before we went on the break, we were talking about the Palestine issue. Now, brother, tell me that with the combined strength of the Islamic Ummah, why have not we been able to force Israel to give the Palestinians their just right?
Force, the word you said, force. The point is that, since the creation of the OIC up to now, I think what's happening is that the leaders of the Muslim Ummah keeps on discussing the issue of Palestine politically. They keeps on, condemning what the Israelis are doing. They keep on supporting what United Nations resolutions are emphasizing to. But the point is that none of those leaders, none of the leaders of the Muslim Ummah are looking to the Palestinian issue from the religious point of view. We keep on looking to the issue from the political point of view. And I think we should look to the issue also from the religious point of view, considering the fact that Palestine is the only holy land of Muslims.
And the Qibla Awwal.
And of course, it is the first Qibla. So I don't know why. We are Muslims and we are talking about the Muslim Ummah. And this is the summit of the Muslim Ummah leaders, they are discussing the main issue of the Muslim Ummah, and it is the holy land of the Muslims. But they are not talking to, they are not considering the issue. They are not considering the religious point of the issue. They keep on talking from the political aspect, and they keep on, supporting what the United Nations is saying or trying to do. At least this is what they are claiming. I mean, the United Nations. But why we don't look to the issue from the religious point of view? This is the Holy Land. What does it mean, Holy Land, for the Muslim Ummah? When any of us as a Muslim, when we say the word Israel itself, when we mention the name of Israel, what does it mean? It means that we do not recognize the Palestinians. We recognize the Israelis. We are talking about the Israelis as if there is a country named Israel. There is no country named Israel. We should know, our people should know, that the generations should know what is the reality. The reality is that this is the holy land of the whole Muslims. It's not of the Palestinians, by the way. It's not my land or yours or anybody's land. This is the land of the Muslim Ummah. This is the land of each and every Muslim. Each and every individual in this Muslim Ummah has a share and has a duty to liberate this piece of land. This is the holy land. When we are talking about the first Qibla, do we really know and understand what does it mean? When we say the holy land, do really we and the generation, the public, really understand what does it mean, the holy land? Do you know what does it mean when the holy land of the Muslims are under the occupation of the Jews, who are the enemy of Muslims? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Quran, in the holy book, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what he tells us that Yehudi is the Jews are the most enemy of Muslims. But we don't consider this. We don't go by what's happening, what Quran is telling us. We don't go by what is the reality is telling us. Unfortunately, nowadays we consider, we talk to the issue and we consider and we look to the issue from the political point of view, and we say that okay, there is Israelis and there is Americans and there is United Nations. Okay, they are trying to solve. Palestinian Authority are trying to send the ambassadors, blah, documents, signing. But what's happening on the ground?
Point taken, Abdur Rehman. Matar, you have made a very
with all my respect, of course.
No, it's a very important point that we must look at the Palestinian issue from the religious point
as
of
well,
view.
yeah, not
as
only
well as
from the political point of view.
But Ambassador, let's talk about the Libyan question. The other day, President Obama, for the first time, admitted that the worst mistake during his tenure, and he talking about 2 tenures of presidency, the worst mistake has been going into Libya. And look at the mess that has been created. Can the OIC help in that? Would you care to talk about the Libyan question, sir?
Yes, as far as the American president's statement is concerned, this has been happening all the time. And as somebody said, other countries commit crimes. The United States only make mistakes. But those mistakes are deadly. The mistakes in Libya, the mistakes in Iraq, the mistakes in Syria,
Afghanistan,
the mistakes in Afghanistan, the mistakes in the Middle East, the mistakes in Africa. As far as the situation in Libya is concerned, probably there is more potential for success, because we really don't have Muslim countries disagreeing on the restoration of peace and stability in that very important country. I don't know, why the OIC has not taken sort of drastic steps to set up peacekeeping missions. There can be an Islamic peacekeeping mission to bring the situation under control and then promote a political settlement.
True, sir. So, Brother Abdur Rehman, what are your thoughts on the Libyan situation? Because you see, Colonel Muammar Gaddafi may not have been an angel, but at least he had things under control. With his departure, Libya is in chaos, it's in anarchy, and this situation has become ripe for Al-Qaeda and even for the Daesh to enter and create mayhem.
Controversially, what can I say? There is what's happening in Libya is similar to what's happening in Yemen, in Iraq, in Syria. Those four countries, at least. Egypt also is there, but mainly these are these four countries. After in 2011, when the Arab Spring started, all of these four countries went into chaos. So far, they are in chaos. Nobody knows who is right and who's wrong in these countries. Nobody knows whether X or Y or Z, whether Daesh or Al-Qaeda or any other group is right or wrong. There is a lot of ambiguity in what's happening in Iraq, in Syria, in Yemen, in Libya, and I think the American involvement in Libya, the American involvement in Iraq, or even the other involvement, other countries' involvement in these four countries, has added, yes, to the problem suffered by the people of these four countries. And I think it is a duty, it is a responsibility of the leaders who are meeting in Turkey now, not only to discuss these issues, but to find a solution as well.
Exactly.
These issues needs an immediate type of a solution. Syria is burning, Iraq is burning since more than 10 years. Yemen is burning since 5 years now. Libya also in the same. Libya is burning since the last 5 years. I think now we need a practical type of solutions. I don't think we need to discuss what's happening. I don't think just thinking or exchanging views about what's happening is not enough. And let me add one point. As I said, it's a responsibility of those leaders who are meeting now in Turkey. But to be more clear with you, I think it's the responsibility, or the major amount of responsibility goes to the leaders of the bigger Muslim countries. Pakistan is one of the big Muslim countries. Pakistan maybe is the strongest Muslim country. Pakistan armed forces, I think, and I believe that they are the best among the Muslim countries. Pakistan is the only Muslim country which owns a nuclear technology and a missile system as well. And I think the responsibility of Pakistan is much more than others if you compare with the other weak and small Muslim countries. So I think, and in the same time, the ability is here. As you know, His Excellency also knows better than me, there is a lot of retired ambassadors who has traveled in the Muslim countries, who lived in the Muslim countries, studied the Muslim countries, knows very well what's happening in Libya, in Syria, and Iraq. They have the expertise of what's happening. They have the knowledge of what's happening, and they have the ability to find solutions. I think it is the duty of the Muslim leaders, yet it is the duty of the leaders of those big Muslim countries to practically find an immediate solution to what's happening in these four countries at least.
True. So that brings me specifically, Your Excellency, to talk on Syria, which is burning. I am not sure that the OIC should be showing any solidarity to the regime over there, but it should be showing solidarity to the people of Syria who are really suffering. So is there a solution, and where does OIC fit in into this?
Well, OIC fits in everywhere where there are Muslims and they have problems. And in the case of Syria, the situation has become very, very complex because there is a sectarian element, the so-called Shia-Sunni issue. There is also the Kurdish factor. But I think what the Islamic Summit can do is to set up a small committee of leaders assisted by their foreign ministers who should make renewed efforts. Pakistan has tried, and the advisor on for foreign affairs, Mr. Sartaj Aziz, mentioned the visits of the Prime Minister to try and reconcile Iran and Saudi Arabia, which will also help in finding solutions to the Syrian crisis. So there can be any number of scenarios. The most important thing, of course, is to restore peace and order, and also to discourage the extremist groups, particularly the Daesh.
True, sir. But Brother Abdur Rehman, His Excellency talked about Syria, but Syria and Iraq, actually they are tied together, and the biggest danger, of course, is from the Daesh or the ISIS or ISIL, whatever they would like to call themselves. Sometimes they call themselves the Islamic State, which of course is a misnomer. But it's a very serious issue, and I think it falls upon the Islamic world and the OIC to tackle it. With that, let me also add a corollary that the refugee situation, these people are going to Turkey and then they are moving onwards to Europe. Europe is having a crisis, but Europe is still welcoming some of them, despite what happened in Paris, despite what happened in Belgium. But it is actually the duty of the Islamic Ummah to look after these refugees. Don't we have a big heart? Have we forgotten the days of the Ansar?
This is unfortunately, yes, we did. We forgot. This is the reality. This is what's happening. That hundreds of thousands of Iraqis and Syrians are moving from Turkey, which is an Islamic country, by the way, to Europe. Why Turkey is not hosting them? Still, Turkey is hosting
quite a few.
2.5 million, I think, or maybe
they say 3 million, maybe
something like that. But yes, unfortunately, you know, the situation in Syria and Iraq is almost similar. What's happening in Syria nowadays has already happened in Iraq. Iraq has been divided into three parts. Southern part with Shia, central part with Sunnis, and northern part with Kurd. And I think the same thing is happening now in Syria. And the eastern part of Syria is under control of Kurd. The central part is under the control of the opposition, which is mainly Sunni. The western and the southern western part of Syria is under control of Shia, the ruling regime in Syria. So I think, and the point is that we are forgetting that those two capitals, Baghdad and Damascus, are the capital of the Muslim Ummah, the historical capitals of the Muslim Ummah. You know, the Khilafat, the Abbasi Khilafat ruled from Baghdad for 100 years. Earlier to that, the Khilafat of Amawi ruled from Damascus for hundreds of years. So the point is that we are forgetting the facts. We are forgetting our history, and we don't read what's happening on the ground, even in the current situation. Hundreds of thousands, millions of refugees from Syria and Iraq since the last 13.
We are looking for solutions coming from Putin and from Obama. We
have the ability. We have the ability, but I think we are lack of will.
Lack of will?
I think.
Okay. So, Your Excellency, these are all huge topics by themselves. But since we won't have time to discuss them so much in depth, but I would like your opinion on the situation in Yemen. Again, it's very divisive, and unfortunately the Ummah is divided on this issue of Yemen. Would you care to share your thoughts?
Well, I haven't followed the developments in Yemen very, very carefully. But as far as the question of Syrian refugees is concerned, remember, more than 4 million of them are hosted by 3 Muslim countries, or largely Muslim countries, and that is Jordan, Lebanon, and Turkey. And in Europe, a lot of debate is going on 1 million people, whereas 4 times that number is hosted by countries which are underdeveloped, which are poor, which are already faced with a multitude of their own problems. As far as the situation in Yemen, Yemen, as you know, has had historic fault lines and all, which have become sharper because of the differences between, as you said, the countries of the Ummah. So Yemen has become, in fact, a microcosm of the problems of the Islamic Ummah. If our Muslim countries, if they improve their relations, I would not name them, there will be a solution of the Yemen crisis. I think, while one is talking about the current political issues, one should talk about the larger question. And the main question is, how do we interpret Islam in a manner that enables the Muslims to reconcile, respect for their religion, as well as respect for human rights, for the status of women, for injustice, for inequality, and for progress in this world. Unless and until we resolve this issue, the relationship between our noble religion and the demands of contemporary world, no Islamic country will have peace forever. This is a common issue which has to be faced, whether it's the Islamic countries in Asia or Africa, the Middle East, or anywhere. So I hope that the OIC summit can set up some kind of a process for resolving these issues.
Point taken. These are all very valid points. But coming back to you, Abdur Rehman, Matar would like to hear your opinion on the Yemen crisis.
If you allow me just to give a very quick comment, there is 11 million Syrian refugees. Most of them are internally displaced, yes, but the others who are forced to leave Syria, even if they are staying in those Muslim countries, all the aid or care is given to them through the United Nations. None of the OIC organization, if there is any OIC organization, is functioning in these Muslim countries to help those Syrian refugees. Coming back to what's happening in Yemen, what's happening in Yemen is very clear. The people of Yemen raising against the regime, they have asked for freedom, and they went into some kind of a mass type of revolution, you can say. The regime accepted. The GCC Gulf countries has involved. They went and they have formed some kind of an agreement between the opposition leaders and the regime at that time, and there was a very well-known declared type of an agreement between the public, their demands, reflecting their demands, and the regime reflecting their concerns. There was a very well solid known declared type of an agreement. Unfortunately, the regime, the ex-president Ali Abdullah Saleh, he did not follow what he himself has signed upon. Right. He himself has signed in Saudi Arabia. Not his deputy, not his foreign minister. He himself personally has signed on this agreement, but even so, he did not respect his own signature. And then he gathered his own people, his own militia, his own tribal people from here, from there, and with support from the Houthi tribe, which is supported by Iran, they started again, violating the peace agreement which has been signed. Currently, Saudi Arabia and other countries were forced to involve into Yemen to protect the innocent people of Yemen. Because the innocent people of Yemen suffered a lot for around 8 months from attacks from different forces.
So, yeah, Akhri, what is the solution to this crisis?
The solution is very well known. Each and every party agrees to go back to the peaceful agreement, which has signed, I think, in 2012, if I'm not wrong. Nowadays, there is, since the last 3 days, ceasefire in Yemen. There should be talks in Kuwait on 18th of this month. Hopefully there will be a solution to what's happening in Yemen, but unfortunately nobody is really optimistic about what's happening, because the Houthi and the ex-president Ali Abdullah Saleh and his forces, of course, these people kept on violating the ceasefire since the last 3 days. Still, the people are hoping for some kind of a progress in Kuwait talks on 18th of this month. But unfortunately, there is no sign of any successful, because the basic, when you declare that there is a ceasefire and after a week there will be peace talks, but one of the parties did not, respect the ceasefire. So you don't think there will be really a serious type of peace talks in Kuwait on 18th of this month.
But Your Excellency, you had hinted on it in the beginning of your talk. It's time to talk about it in a little more detail. Unfortunately, terrorism and Islam have become synonymous. Nauzubillah. But it's a fact of life. In Europe, I mean, newspapers like Jylanden Posten of Denmark or Charlie Hebdo of France, they are projecting that Muslims are terrorists. We need to shed this misconception and this cloak which has come on Islam, which is totally untrue. How can we do that, sir?
Well, there has to be a comprehensive solution. First, we have to ensure that terrorists do not originate in our countries, in our societies. We cannot deny that there are terroristic elements, whether it's called Daesh, whether it's called Taliban, whether it's called by, other names.
Al-Qaeda.
They do believe in violence for resolving issues. So we have to take steps to discourage the emergence of terrorism in our countries. Second, we have to ensure that those who are outside, who are hosted by non-Muslim countries, do not get support, do not get money and other support from the terrorist organizations elsewhere. So we have to first resolve that issue. We can only then deal with the phenomenon of Islamophobia, which is a very serious one. The actions that are, attributed to Muslims or are committed by Muslims are exaggerated beyond any reasonable proportion, and by the rightist elements, and Mr. Sartaj Aziz has mentioned that. In the name of religious freedom and all that, there is a lot of intolerance is being promoted.
And then
Islam
a number of people,
painted.
sir, if you notice, I mean, I'm talking about the extremist leaders, they distort the verses of Quran and they present them to support their heinous acts of terror and violence. So this has to stop. Somehow the ordinary Muslims have to be insulated and given the correct interpretation of Islam, which nowhere propagates violence.
We have to also project that that Muslims have traditionally supported non-Muslim minorities. Look at the condition of the Jews during the Holocaust. The Muslim countries were the only places where they were secure. In Europe, Bosnia-Herzegovina, which had a Muslim majority, was the only place where not a single act, action against Jews was taken. Similarly, in most Muslim countries, the problems arose after Israel was planted in the heart of the Arab world and Islamic world. So then, of course, you had incidents of intolerance. But historically, Islam and Muslims have never been intolerant of non-Muslim minorities. So we have to project those historic facts in an effort to explain that Islam and terrorism are not synonymous.
True. So, Brother Abdur Rehman Matar, could you shed some light on how to take care of this Islamophobia which has now prevailed in the West?
To be honest, I'd like to draw your attention to what the others are doing to the Muslims as well. Look to what Indians are doing in Kashmir. Look to what the Israelis or the Jews are doing to the Palestinians. Look and remember what the Serbs did regarding our Muslim Bosnian brothers in early 90s. And what they are doing to themselves, what the Irish people did with the Britain, what the British people did with the Irish. So the point, there is, of course, there is no link between Islam and terrorism. This is a very well-known fact. And I don't think we need to defend ourselves in the same time. But I think we need to project not only the historical facts, as His Excellency just mentioned, we need also to highlight what the others are doing against the Muslims. Muslims are innocent in most of the cases. And throughout what's happening, you know, if there is a very minor and small group claims to be Muslims, taking verses from Quran and translating and, you know, giving explanation as they wish and consider themselves Muslim, fighting other Muslims, this is of course a very, you know, very well rejected type of, you know, procedure. But the point is that why we don't look to what the others are doing? Why, you know, what's happening in Kashmir? It's a state-owned, supported type of terrorism. It's not a group, it's not a terrorism of a single group or so. It's the government itself, the state sponsored. The state itself is, you know, funding and supporting and, you know, sponsoring this type of terrorism. What the Jews are doing in Palestine, they are not only occupying the land, they are also humiliating the Muslims over there. They are arresting them, killing them, putting them in jail. So many type, you know, of atrocities and, you know, terrorism. Why we are not highlighting this? Why we keep on just defending ourselves? No, we are not terrorism. No, we are not terrorists. So no, we should also highlight what the others are doing to the Muslims. What the Americans did in Iraq, what the Americans did in 2007 here in Bajor on the eve of the Eid. They have killed by a single missile of a drone 80+ child in one madrasa in Bajor agency. Why we are not highlighting these things? What they did in Afghanistan, what they did in Iraq and Libya. Why we are just, you know, defending ourselves? I don't think it's fair.
Solid point. One aspect which needs to come out and should be discussed in this OIC summit, sir, is that the Islamic Ummah consists of some of the richest people in the world, I'm talking about countries, and some of the poorest and most downtrodden. So don't you think under the umbrella of the OIC, we should have a system like the United Nations where the impoverished and suffering people who lack education, who lack medical care, who lack the basic amenities of life are looked after by a fund which is funded by the richest people of the Islamic world?
I agree with you. And actually under the umbrella of OIC, we have a number of standing committees, such as the committee which is headed, which is headquartered in Islamabad, COMSTEC, the Islamic Committee on Science and Technology. Then there is the Istanbul Center on Islamic Culture. There is also the Rabat Center on Trade, promotion of trade. And there are a number of other initiatives which are meant to support the socio-economic development in the less fortunate Muslim countries. All those institutions exist. What is needed is to enable them, to give them resources, to empower them, to play their role in a more effective and more meaningful way. We have Islamic universities. There is one in Dhaka, there is one in Islamabad, and there is one in Sub-Sahara Africa. So we need to support all these intra-Islamic or pan-Islamic institutions for the benefit of the less fortunate segments of the Islamic Ummah.
At least you have shed some light on what is ongoing. But brother, would you like to add something to it? Because actually I wanted to ask you about the aspect that OIC should also be looking after the friction between Islamic states. Some of them is very deadly.
No doubt, no doubt. It's the duty of the Muslim leaders to look into themselves also, to look into their colleagues and eliminate and completely finish each and every type of friction, if any, exists between themselves. And yes, we know what's happening in between Saudi Arabia and Iran. We know what's happening between XYZ countries. And again, as I said a while ago, it's the responsibility of those big and strong Muslim countries to involve. If you have two brothers and both of them are, even if they are younger to you, elder to you, rich, more rich than you or more poor than you, it doesn't matter. But if you have two brothers and there is problem between them, you should involve yourself. You should not wait for OIC. You should not wait for United Nations. You should take the initiative yourself. And I think, yes, Pakistan did very well. And I think Pakistan should do more also. Not what they have done is very well, appreciated and respected and recognized also. But I think they need to do more, and they need to look into what happened between Saudi Arabia and Iran. In the same time, yes, there is a lot of issues on a lot of things which OIC can look after, and just simply look to the ground reality. For example, in Indonesia. Indonesia is the biggest, maybe most populated Muslim country. Still, this country needs a lot of assistance. It needs a lot of funds. Needs a lot of development. Even this country needs a lot of development. Afghanistan, your neighbor, needs a lot of projects and a lot of development projects and a lot of funds. And I think the institutions which His Excellency just mentioned, they are functioning, yes, but I think they should be functioning more. And we should regain our what you call it, our self-confidence as a Muslims. We should remember that we are Muslims, and there is a lot of ability in us to help ourselves and to help our Muslim brothers. And we should not just simply think that, okay, this country needs 100 million and I have lost in the last 2 weeks 200 million because of the oil price declined in the international market. That's why I should not help them. This is not the way. This is not the way. We should regain our self-confidence, and we should become true Muslims and help ourselves and our brothers.
True. I wanted to ask your opinion, sir, on this 34-nation alliance, military alliance led by Saudi Arabia. What is your opinion about it, sir?
Well, it depends on the objectives of the alliance. If the objectives, we are talking about the Islamic Ummah, if the objectives are directed, are in any way, there is a clash, there is a problem, then of course it should not be, there should be changes in that. So let's hope it's an evolving initiative, and we don't know the exact situation, it's just the beginning. And let's hope that it helps rather than hinders the process of the unification and solidarity of the Ummah.
Your final comments, sir, since we are coming to the end of the program.
Even with the beginning of this alliance, as His Excellency just mentioned, they have done a very big achievement. They have forced the Russians to quit Syria after 6 months of destroying Syria. And I think it was very positive, very timely, important type of an coalition announced by Saudi Arabia. And I think the Muslim leaders should again look deeply into what's happening in the Muslim Ummah and find the practical solutions.
Viewers, with that we end this debate for the time being. It was very heartening to see both our participants sharing their views with us. The important thing is that yes, the Islamic Ummah today faces one of the biggest challenges it has ever faced since its existence. But the fact remains that the Muslims are endowed with the holy book of Allah, the Holy Quran, and Islam, which is one of the greatest religions in the world. So it is important that we understand the teachings of Islam. We equip ourselves with the knowledge which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Prophet have taught us, and we do not feel underconfident, and we do not get led away by the Islamophobia, but we pool our resources because we have had some of the best minds in the world who led the world, who gave education to the world. So let us revive that, but the key word is what the OIC summit is today: unity for solidarity and peace. And let us hope that it is regained in the world so that Islam emerges once again as the religion for peace which it once stood. I'd like to thank you, Ambassador Shafqat Kakakhel. I'd like to thank you, Abdur Rehman, Matar. Viewers, keep watching us. Hope to see you in the next program, inshallah. Allah Hafiz.